All right, guys, Crypto Kurt here with another crypto insight. And what we're looking at today is Populous. I'm also going to apologize in advance. I'm at home sick as a dog today, so I apologize for the stuffed up voice and any coughs or sniffles along the way. Of course, I'll do my best to edit as we go. Now, what I'm going to do is break this I'm going to break this up into a series of concepts or puzzle pieces. I've seen some other people doing some videos trying to describe Populous, trying to describe invoice financing, trying to describe how the platform works, the payouts. And I think it's just way too much information for those of you that don't have a background in finance. Okay, without putting myself on a pedestal, I do have a degree in banking and finance. I've got a 4-year degree in business administration. I majored in banking and finance and got a minor in economics. Now, that doesn't really mean much. I haven't used it much in the world in the past few years, but at least it's given me some the ability to run some analysis and be intelligent, and especially looking at some of these cryptos and how they're going to pay out in the future. So Populous makes my list for the same 3 reasons that Pay made my list. A, you've got the capital gains of the shares, you've got the potential for compounding interest to reinvest back into the system, and then you have the potential to make passive income. This one, for me, is both the passive income and the capital building. I think is really powerful, and we're going to get into that probably a couple of videos down the line. Today, I simply want to help you understand what is invoice financing, sometimes referred to as factoring as well, and then help you understand why a business would even want to use this solution. And I've got a great spreadsheet that I put together, which is, I think, a really good example of the benefits of invoice financing to a business, and then the downfalls to a business if they're not using invoice financing. Okay, so let's get started first with how big of a market is it? So I'm in the white paper. So this is the Populous white paper. This is just the abstract, and I just want to point out one line. The total market size for invoice finance has been growing rapidly and reached over $3 trillion in US dollars worldwide. Now, the white paper does not stipulate what time period this is. I don't know if that's over 10 years, 5 years, 3 years, or last year. But no matter what, the point is it's a very big market. And most of the big banks are involved in this market. So what I did was I went and I'm looking at the top 4 banks in Australia. For those of you who don't live in Australia, there are 4 big banks which take up the lion's share of the marketplace. And it's frustrating because they're all expensive to do banking with. I wish some American bank or some other bank would come in here and break the market open with some low fees and stuff. But anyway, it is what it is. I've also read somewhere that invoice financing represents 28% of average income to banks. So, it's potentially a large percentage of how the banks actually make their money. So here on St. George public website, invoice discounting, you can reduce your business borrowings, usually within 24 hours of receipt of the invoice data. And St. George offers Cashflow Connect, which is our secure internet site, which gives you access to up to 85% of your invoice value within 24 hours. Okay, this is ANZ Bank, invoice finance again on the website. Same thing. In addition, it can enhance your business growth by allowing you to access up to 80% of your invoices by the next working day. How to apply? Well, you better be doing turnover of $5 million to $40 million. Okay, so this is where the Populous platform is going to come into play. I know for a fact there will be a lot of businesses that don't have a $5 million turnover that would want to take advantage of invoice factoring as part of their business development. It's just a no-brainer. Okay, so one place where Populous is going to meet some demand, the smaller businesses. Okay, it's going to be huge. If you come over here to Commonwealth Bank, basically they say that their solutions are tailored to fit the trade cycle of your business, which means when are you going to get paid, when your invoice is going to get paid. Please request a callback. Well, it's a fairly difficult or it's conceptually it's hard to understand, so they don't want to try to put information here. They want you to talk to someone. Westpac Bank, look at this, access up to 85% of the value of your unpaid invoices. Self-serve online portal available 24/7 where you can upload invoices in seconds. Funds available in 24 hours generally. And look at this, borrow from 500,000. Well, what if I want to borrow 1,000? What if I want to borrow 5,000? What if I want to borrow 10,000? So you see, guys, those are the two things, the two market, what do you call them? The sweet spots that the Populous platform is going to help. Those small businesses which aren't doing 5 million or less, and businesses which only want to factor or invoice finance smaller invoices. So you can see, man, these big banks, they don't want to deal with the small players. They're like, go away. If you're not doing 5 million or you don't want to borrow $500,000, we don't even want to talk to you. So what does a business do then? Well, there's a whole bunch of trade finance businesses that would deal with smaller businesses. So there's companies that do exactly that, trade finance. And that's what this gentleman who started the Populous was going to do himself, but he found out that he needed $1 million in insurance to set the company up. So he was like, screw that. So after a bunch of research, he's gone out and created the Populous platform. Look, there's a great interview with him by Cliff High. So Cliff High is interviewing the guy, I can't remember his name, Steven something. And it's really powerful. This gentleman has spent years and years and years studying financial data. Much like Cliff studies, linguistic data, this guy studied financial data across multiple companies across the UK primarily, which is where he got his start, and that's why they're starting with with the pound sterling, because they're going to launch in the UK. So they're looking for businesses in the UK to offer this service to. So let's go back to the Populous website. Now that we've seen what the banks have to say, what do these guys have to say? Rebuilding invoice finance block by block on the blockchain, of course. Wait no more. Tired of waiting for your customers to pay their invoices? Upload your invoices and have your outstanding invoices paid within 24 hours. Let the growth into your business that it deserves. Okay. What is Populous? Again, I'm going to break this up. We're going to be doing this in chunks. So this module, this first section about Populous, is simply trying to help you understand what is invoice financing. Okay. So let's have a look at this spreadsheet. Minor coughing fit there. My apologies. Okay, so month 1, we do 100,000 in sales. Woohoo! It's a record sales month, biggest month ever. It's a brand new client. That's fantastic. But guess what? That client has 90-day terms. That means they don't pay us until 90 days later. That means we actually don't get paid until the first week of month 4. A lot of people get confused. They think 90-day payout and I'm going to get paid in month 3. No, it's 30, 60, 90 days. Then you get paid on like day 91 or 92 or 93, right? But in month 1, you still had to pay your rent. You still had to pay your payroll. You still had to pay your expenses. And the reality is, we're a profitable business. We made 100,000 in sales. We got 55,000 in total expenses, and we're making money, right? Well, yes, we're making money, but there's this little problem in business called cash flow. And for those of you who have never heard the term is cash flow is king. And I think if more businesses understood that, there'd be a lot less businesses going out of business. And this is a perfect example of how a business could start and go out of business quite quickly. So again, 100,000 in sales, 55,000 in costs. Nothing came in the bank, so we had to shell out 55 grand. So we're now out 55 grand with nothing in the bank to cover that. Month 2, 75,000 in sales. Once again, we're selling more than we're spending, but we still have to pay those bills. We're still not going to get paid until we're out in month 5 on this one, because this is 90 days out from month 2. We still have 55,000 in negative cash flow going out the door. Month 3, same problem, 80,000 in sales. We're still profitable. We're still having to pay our rent though, and we're still having to pay our people, and we're still 55,000 out. So what do we have here in the first 3 months? Total, we're out 165K. Total that we've earned. Hang on. There we go. So we made $250,000. We've paid out 165,000, but effectively we're out of business. I mean, if you didn't have loans set up in place, or revolving finance, or a mom who had money in the bank that could pay the bills for you, you're basically going to run into some problems. So again, this is a problem for either businesses that are in startup mode or businesses that are seasonal. Those businesses where they do 90% of their sales is in December for Christmas, or is in November before Christmas. So November, December, 90% of the sales, and then they have to limp through the next 10 months basically managing their cash flow because they make very little sales in those periods. So those are a couple of good examples. So let's see, how could invoice factoring help this business? Okay, so we have the same situation. We have the same sales numbers. We have the same expense numbers. So in month 1, we get the invoice. We take the invoice. We take it to the Populous platform. We give Populous 15% of the invoice as a payment or as a fee, but we get $85,000 back in the bank. We're able to pay our bills, and now we're able to put $30,000 in the bank. So that's cool. We're not borrowing money from anybody. It's fantastic. 75,000 in sales. We're going to take the 75,000. We're going to take it to Populous in month 2. We're going to take 63,750 because again, that's 15% of the 75,000, which is going to allow us to pay our bills and put some money in the bank. And then in month 3, 80,000 in sales. We take the 80,000 invoice. We put it into Populous at a value of $68,000. We're able to pay our 55,000, and then we're able to put 13,000 back into the bank. Let me see, double check that math. Yes, that's correct. 68,000 minus 55 is 13,000, right? Hang on. Yes, that's all good. So you can see now that without using the invoicing financing, we're going to be out 165,000 in cash flow. Sorry, back here, we'll be out 165,000 in cash flow. And if we do use the factoring, we're actually going to have money in the bank. What's the sum there? Auto sum that puppy. So we're up 51K. Now, yes, you had to give away the 15%, right? But you're giving away 15% to keep the health of the business going, to be able to pay your people, to be able to pay the rent. And you know what? As a business owner, to keep the stress off your back. That stress is a massive monkey, okay? So again, we go back to the situation with Populous, right? So if you want to borrow less than $5 million, what are you going to do? You're not going to go to a big bank. What if you want to borrow less than 500,000? Sorry, you want to borrow less than 500,000, or what if your business doesn't earn 5 million? Well, in both those instances, this is what the banks want, and most of the banks probably have things like that built into their terms and conditions. So the reality is, guys, this is the power of Populous, okay? It's going to allow businesses to have this experience instead of this experience. Stress, stress, stress. Profits, 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 right? So now you can understand, hopefully, how it's going to work and why people will be coming to this platform, because A, they're not a big player that the banks will talk to. They don't have the cash. They have limited requirements. They don't need the 500,000. They only need 5,000. So again, I'm going to go much more in depth into how the Populous system is going to work in the next video. But this is just, I think, a really good overview of how invoice factoring works. Basically, it's module 1 to understand why you should consider investing in Populous. This is not investment advice. This should be considered for entertainment and education purposes only. And I'm going to say it again, this is the first day of the rest of your life. The crypto world is exploding. It is time for you to get on board. There's a link below to go to CoinSpot, sign up. It's a crypto exchange. You can buy Populous there and get going ASAP. All right, Crypto Kurt out.